Welcome back to Louisiana Cooking and Living. My name is Katie. If you're new to my channel, we welcome you here. If you're a follower or subscriber, I'd like to thank you for coming back. I'm super excited about what we're making today. My kids love this. They request it all the time. We are making Mississippi mud. Mississippi mud is actually not named after the state of Mississippi with the mud there. It's actually named after the Mississippi River and the layers of the river. So the crust is going to be a cup of pecans, and I've used my 1970s trusty Tupperware nut grinder. I have ground up it's like finely chopped, a cup of pecans in here, and I have a 13x9, and I have a cup of flour in that, and we're going to need a stick of butter. You can make this in a 13x9 glass dish if you're going to keep it at home, but if you want to take it to somebody's house, or I take it to our church fellowships quite often, and I usually will make it in one of these disposable pans. I'm not quite sure the size of them, but it's kind of like the equivalent to a 13x9. Anyway, I will show you what I've done in the past once I pull the crust out of the oven to make individual ones, because you can also do that. It's going to be the nut layer, which is the crust, and that's the only thing you have to bake. It bakes at 350 for 20 minutes, 350 degrees for 20 minutes. And then there's a cream cheese layer, a chocolate pudding layer, and then a fancy Cool Whip layer. So we're going to get started on making this. It's super easy. The hardest thing is just letting the crust cool completely before you finish the other steps. So I'm going to tilt the camera down and we'll get started. So while I am working on this so that my other ingredients are ready when it's time, you do need your butter softened. I have taken my cream cheese out of the fridge to let that soften, and I have moved my Cool Whip to the refrigerator so that can soften also. So like I said, I have a cup of flour in here, and then I have a cup of the finely chopped pecans here. So I'm just going to dump those in. And we'll give this a little bit of a mix right here. And then I'm using this pastry blender to mix it all together with the butter, but you could use your fingers, you could use 2 butter knives, whatever you have is fine. So that's how easy the crust is, 3 ingredients. So we're going to just mix all this together, and you're just going to want it to be like a crumble texture, I guess like a coarse sand. Like I said, my kids always request this dessert. Something else I've done, if I'm going to bring it somewhere that it needs to be able to sit out like on the counter for a while, like if you're bringing it to church for a fellowship and it's not going to have room in a refrigerator to put it in, is I freeze it ahead of time, and then it thaws while it's sitting out for a few hours. So that's a good way to, I guess, plan ahead or take care of that kind of situation. I am going to grab a butter knife real quick to scrape down my pastry blender. So I have my oven preheating to 350, like I said, and it takes 20 minutes to bake is all. And then really it's just waiting for it to cool. The crust is my favorite part of this. I love pecans. Alright, this looks pretty good now. And I'm just going to press it into my pan. My brother has made this and used butterscotch pudding instead of the chocolate pudding. I'm not a fan of butterscotch. but he really likes it like that. So clean hands. Just going to press it in. You want it just flat on the bottom. It doesn't need to come up the sides. Any extra, like a typical, like a pie crust or something, just flat on the bottom. Because you are going to refrigerate this afterwards, even though the butter's going to melt when it makes the crust. Once you refrigerate it, it's going to hold it all together. All right, it's that easy. I'm going to wash my hands and we will get this into the oven. Okay, so we're going to move this over to the oven. So what I have are these little individual dessert cups. You can see that. I got these on Amazon. The other ones I had, they were round and just had like a little lid that popped on. So what I did was I baked my crust when I wanted to make these individual, and then I just crumbled it up. So when you bake it, it kind of toasts the pecans and the flour and everything. I crumbled it up and I just dropped in a layer of the crust in here, and then the other layers, as we make the dessert, I would just spoon the layers into these cups, and then you'd have little individual desserts. Really easy. I mean, it is a process to do all the cups that you would need. I think I did, the other cups were muffin size. I think I did 24 of those. I'm not sure, this is a little smaller. I'm not sure how many of these it would make. Probably 30, maybe 36 of these. Anyway, that makes a little fun individual dessert. So we're going to get this baked, and I'll be back when it's cooled. It's going to take about an hour for it to cool, and then we'll be back. Okay, we are back, and the crust is finished, and it has cooled. It only took about, I don't know, 45 minutes or whatever to cool to room temperature. And so now we're going to make the first layer, which is a white layer, and it's going to be 1 package of cream cheese. I use this 1/3 fat cream cheese. It's going to be 1 container of Cool Whip, which is 8 ounces. They didn't have, sometimes I'll just buy the bigger container, which is 16 ounces, and just divide it in half because you'll need either two 8 ounces or 1 16 ounce. It's going to be a cup of powdered sugar and a teaspoon of vanilla. So I'm going to turn the camera down and we'll get these layers made. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put the cream cheese, the powdered sugar, and the vanilla in the mixer, and we're going to combine that really well. We're not going to add the Cool Whip until after this is completely combined, because it will kind of deflate the Cool Whip and make it runny if you put it in here while it's blending. So we'll get these in here. Powdered sugar. And a teaspoon of vanilla. I think my video next week that's going to come out is going to be making vanilla. I'm going to make vanilla, lemon extract, and some red wine vinegar. I'm not quite sure what else I'm going to put in that video, but I think that's going to be my video next week. So we'll add a teaspoon of this. Just scraping the sides down, and I'm going to give it a pretty stiff mix real quick. All right. Scraping all this down, and then we're going to fold in the Cool Whip so not to deflate it. I've actually tried making this with real whipped cream before, and it just doesn't taste right. It's one of those things when you're making a dessert, you're not looking for healthy anyway, or not always looking for healthy. All right. So this is our next layer. We're just going to spread this on top of our crust. And again, once this is refrigerated, it's going to firm up. All right. So I don't wash my mixer out before I go to the next step because it's all going in the same place anyway. I'm going to rinse my finger real quick. All right, the next step is the pudding layer. So it's just the 5.9 ounce chocolate pudding mix, instant pudding. And just shy of 3 cups. The recipe calls on the box calls for 3 cups of milk, but I just do just shy of 3 cups, so it's a little thicker. Put this right back on the mixer. I'm going to use the whisk attachment this time. Start off slow because it will go everywhere. Alright, I'm going to give this a quick scrape, make sure there's no pudding powder at the bottom that's not getting mixed in. Give it one more scrape. pour this over the top. Give that a spread. See, this is really easy to make. Again, if you're doing those individual cups, you would just spoon this into those cups in the layers. All right. All right, this is the last layer. So this is our second pack of Cool Whip. If I can get it open. And I just dollop this on top and then I spread it out. I've actually seen somebody make a chocolate lasagna, which I've thought about making, where you pretty much do everything the same except your crust is crushed Oreos with butter instead of pecans and flour. And that sounds really good too. All right, we're going to give this a spread. You can, if you don't have a 13 by 9 or just need a smaller portion, you can cut the recipe in half, use the small box of pudding, use a half a brick of cream cheese, just cut everything in half. And you could make this a smaller amount. All right, so to decorate the top, I have dusted this with cocoa powder before, but that kind of dissolves into the Cool Whip, so you don't really want to do that. I take some kind of baking chocolate. This is just this semi-sweet chocolate here, and then I just grate it over the top. Even in a pinch, I've done like the mini Hershey's or a Hershey Kiss or something too. Just grate this over the top just to decorate it like this. If you don't have one of these microplanes, which I think you just get these at the hardware store or something, you could use a box cheese grater, and that works just fine too. All right, so I'm gonna give this a cover and then I'll put it in the refrigerator, and it needs to set for probably 2 to 3 hours, and then we'll be back to taste test it. Okay, the Mississippi Mud's been sitting in the fridge for a couple of hours. Not quite firmed up as much as I would have liked, but we're just going to go ahead and give it a taste. It's going to taste the same, which is good no matter what. So I'm just going to show you the layers here. So you can see the pecan layer, the cream cheese layer, the pudding, and the Cool Whip. And here we go. You heard that crunch of the crust. So good. I love this dessert. I don't make it often. I should make it more often, but it's too good. We'd eat it all. So I hope you give this recipe a try. It's really good. It's really a crowd pleaser. Everybody likes it, unless they don't like chocolate, I guess, for some reason. And I'm not a cream cheese fan. I don't like cheesecake or anything like that, but I really do like this dessert. It's not too tangy with the cream cheese because you mix that Cool Whip and powdered sugar into it. I just hope you hit subscribe if you're not already subscribed and you keep following us. One thing I'd like to go ahead and mention, my daughter suggested that I do like a what we eat in a week video. So that's what I'm going to start doing, is just taking a little snapshot of what we eat every night and then just post that. I think probably on Mondays I'll get those together and just share a little very quick what we eat in a week video. So you can look forward to that coming up. I guess that's all my updates at the moment, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.